now, record, and there we go. We should be recording. That's one thing I did not want to forget. I was just like, record, record, record. So I will be sending you the recording, whether you attend or not, and you can watch it at your leisure. You know, you can take notes if you miss something, if things are going by too fast. All the webinars, Liz, are going to be at this time. I know that's painful for you, because I just think it's best. We got lots of people in California, so it's like 9 a.m. And so I am planning, just for consistency and for my family schedule as well, to have them at 1 o'clock my time. Nobody knows what Atlantic time is, so I don't even say it. Noon Eastern, and just for a sense of like consistency, because I know it's going to be maybe confusing already, sending you a different link every day. You got to kind of keep up, and so if the schedule is changing, I just don't think that's fantastic for everybody. Okay, so we're going to try to be consistent. Now, as we jump in here today, I just want to first talk about what Unboring Officiant is. I'm so grateful all of you took the time to join. I really think that this style of doing weddings is changing lives. It's taking the world by storm. I discovered just how amazing weddings can be just a few years ago. I started as a minister. I did not want to do weddings because they were so boring, but then discovering making it about the couple, okay, that seems to get a good response, and then focusing on their story gets an amazing response. And that's where I kind of honed a system that I had to replicate, because here's the thing, Unboring Officiant is both a style and it's also a system, okay? So that's what I really want to emphasize at the beginning, is you can have a great style, and I know some of you are officiants already, so you have a certain style. You're not going to be exactly my style. I'm not going to be exactly your style. But I am teaching certain strategies, so you have a style that puts people at ease, makes the couple fall in love with you, trust you, gives you confidence, and really results in people saying at the end of the wedding, that was the best ceremony ever. That's not just a cheeky marketing slogan. It is incredible. And if you go in the Facebook group, I love Unboring Officiant members who post their results on Monday morning after a wedding, and they just say, oh my gosh, people literally say that was the best ceremony ever. So I don't know if that's because the bar is low. That's great news for us. People who don't even buy my course, people who buy the coaching program, which means all they do is get my script, rip it. I get on the phone with them for half an hour. They and kind of coach them through a bit, but it's really like people who find me 2 days before the wedding. They report as well that they get that kind of feedback. So it's not that hard to nail the style, but the thing that I also want to teach you is the system. This is a system that you can replicate for every single wedding. And I know some of you are just doing one-offs and you're going to crush it. Other of you, like many inside the course, only planned on doing a one-off, and then they loved it so much and got asked, because usually if you do a wedding like this at the reception, you're going to get asked over and over by people, and suddenly you've got 4 more. And you do want to replicate. You don't want one wedding to be great and then another one be like so-so and another one to not, oh, that was better. If you follow this system, every wedding, it's going to have this level of quality that's consistent across the board. So that is what I'm bringing, is a style. Everyone's engaged. You're confident. Everybody loves how you focus on the couple and make it about them. But this system you can follow every single time. Okay. And so with that said, I want to always be situating you in the course. I want you to know where we are and where you're going. And so I'm going to just share my slides here. And so this is what it's going to look like over the 6 weeks. I've got 6 stages. Stage 1, which is this week, conduct a thorough workshop. Stage 2, create a clear script. Stage 3, build a concise storyboard. 4, write a moving story. 5, run the rehearsal. And 6, officiate the ceremony. Okay, so that is the system that you are going to follow for every wedding you do. You start with the workshop, and so today we're going to talk about that initial meeting with your couple, where you sit down and you plan out their ceremony. I believe you only need to have one really good session with your couple to get everything you need from them. Remember, couples are coming at their wedding, they've got so many vendors a lot of the time, planners and videographers and photographers and multiple meetings, florists and caterers. And so you're just one little member of that team. You're not insignificant, you're kind of a big deal. But if every vendor needs to have 3 or 4 meetings with a couple, it's overwhelming. And so I think they appreciate the vendors that are super concise, super tight. And I get so much gratitude from couples saying, like, when this workshop is over, the way I'm going to teach you today, they go, oh my gosh, that was amazing. That was so painless. Now we're all set. Really? It was just an hour? So that's what I want to impart to you. Then we're going to create the script from the workshop. And so that's next week. And then you build out the story. How do you get their information to write the perfect, amazing, moving story every week? So that's a whole stage in itself. Then 4 is write it. And that is probably the biggest week, like how to write this story, how to craft the words and stuff. And I'll show you exactly how I do that and give you a lot of my transitions and how I write it in chunks. And then run an assertive rehearsal, because that's really important to get to the rehearsal and know what you're doing and keep it, again, tight and concise and build everybody's trust. And then officiate the relaxed ceremony. Just relax, because everyone else is so stressed. So if the officiant's running around with saucer eyes, that is kind of contagious. And so we want to be relaxed and authoritative and know we got everything under control. Okay, so let's get into number 1, conduct a thorough workshop. The reason why I use thorough, a workshop can be a lot of things. So there's a lot of words I could have used in there. But conduct a thorough workshop is, like I said, you want the couple to feel like every stone was unturned. It's usually said in the negative, that you haven't left any stone unturned. You want them to feel like you have all the information. You walk them through everything they need to do, everything they need to know, to give them that sense of comfort, and we're going to be okay. So where I want to start is basically where you would start. You have a couple, and again, this course assumes that you have a couple. I know a lot of you are going pro and getting a practice going. So, you know, that would be a whole other course that perhaps I'm going to put together, is how to market yourself and how to get couples and things like that. But we're going to start with the assumption that you have your couple. They've asked you to marry them. Maybe they have a date, maybe they don't. So you said yes to that. And basically the first thing you do is you reach out to them and you say, great, let's have a wedding planning session that I call our wedding workshop. And I literally say that in the email I send. And I do want to send you right now, I will send you this link in an email later today. I want to send you some email templates. So I'm sending you a link right here. And this is basically, you can click on that, download that, and it's every email you need to send a couple for this process. So the first email you'll see is, hi, great, I'm excited for our wedding planning workshop. And just copy paste, you know, adapt obviously the relevant information. But that's for you. I didn't want you to have to write emails. Just use that, send it to your couple, and you'll see it says, let's plan our wedding workshop. Oh, I see Cantor Mark is here. He's kind of a big deal in the officiating industry. He's also a member of Unboring Officiant. Good to see you, Mark. And Francis says, do the marketing workshop. Okay, I'm working on it. Okay, so you set up your wedding planning session with your couple. And write this down. The sweet spot for having this planning session is 4 to 6 weeks before the date, in my opinion. Any earlier, if you walk the couple through, sit down with them, I like to say, let's meet at a local coffee shop or something like that. So we meet back, you know, remember the days where you could meet at a coffee shop? All right. So you meet at this coffee shop. I guess now it would be virtual. But I could go on a whole tangent here about meeting in person with your couple really establishes that rapport, that sense that they are your friend. And I talked about this at Wedding MBA last year. Some of you were there in Vegas. Those opportunities to establish rapport with your couple, don't let them pass by. So some officiants, I've been told by couples, they get sent a PDF of the ceremony, and the officiant says, add what you want and literally take out what you want and send it back to me. We don't want to do that. We want to sit with our couple and guide them through all the elements of the ceremony like an expert. Not only are you laughing and establishing rapport and developing your relationship together, but also you are establishing that rapport. They're believing in you. You're becoming friends, and so don't waste that. Don't waste the opportunity to develop this relationship with this couple, because at the end, and again, if you look at my reviews, a lot of people think that I'm the couple's friend at the end of the ceremony, and Unboring officiants report that the guests say, how come we never met your friend Mark or whatever? And it's, I'm just a paid professional. That's because I always meet the couple first for a chemistry check. And again, I'm assuming you already have your couple and know them, but meet them first, have a coffee, have a chemistry check, hang out for half an hour, 45 minutes, chit chat, and then meet them for this planning session. And then you do the rehearsal, and you have such a flow with them that there's a chemistry, and people feel that in the ceremony. Okay, so we're conducting this. You're meeting them 4 to 6 weeks before. If it's earlier, they won't know much. They'll say, well, we have to meet with our DJ still. We still have to meet with the planner. We're not sure. We still have to meet with the music person. So that whole, we still have to meet with, it kind of grinds it down a little bit sometimes. So that's if you have this workshop too early. If you have the workshop too late, there's inevitably going to be some things that in the workshop you hit them with that they still have to talk about. They still have to discuss on the way home or in the week to follow, some TBDs, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. But if it's too soon, if it's like 2 weeks before the wedding, they're going to freak out about every little thing that they still have to do. It's going to feel like too much pressure. So the sweet spot, in my opinion, set the wedding workshop to 4 to 6 weeks before your couple. So if I have, before the wedding, if I have a September 1st, I'll reach out to the couple and say, hey, mid-July, late July, can we get together for that planning session, okay? And we want it to be thorough. So here are the 5 steps for a thorough workshop. We're gonna dive right in. We're gonna get to the spreadsheet, but I'm just setting up the landscape for you before we dive right in, okay? And Marnie says, Zoom works great. Yes, I do. Whenever I can't meet a couple for the wedding workshop, I do it on Zoom. And sometimes couples live in Ontario, but they're getting married in New Brunswick. I do the chemistry check on Zoom. I always use Zoom for that. It's free. It's super easy. So you can look into that. So 5 steps for that thorough workshop, okay? First of all, this is what we're going to talk about today. This week, I should say, because I don't know how far into this we're going to get. We're going to cover this over the next 3 sessions. First of all, you want to kick off the workshop, and you say, well, yeah, of course, kick off the workshop. What I mean is you sit with your couple and you say specific things. I have like a routine that I do with the couple, because again, this is not just getting the data you need from them. It's establishing yourself as the expert and skyrocketing their trust and their confidence in you. So I'm going to talk about, and we're going to get to that momentarily, how to kick off the workshop, the planning session with the couple, in a way that they feel like you are the ultimate guide and you're making them feel better, because they are stressed out about their wedding. Maybe not both of them, but typically one of them. Sometimes the groom is a basket case about the flowers and all the details and the walking and the standing and all that. And sometimes the bride's okay, or, you never know which one is going to be stressed out, but typically it's one or both of them. So kick off the workshop well, then cover the non-elements of the ceremony. So there are things to talk about with your couple, like detail, nitty-gritty, mics and the people there, just logistical stuff that most of the time they're going to go, holy cow, I never even thought of that detail. And you say, yeah, I know, I'm the pro. That's why I'm here. Even if you've never done a wedding before, follow this. They're going to feel like you've totally got this on lock. 3, you're going to brainstorm the pre-ceremony. So this is where you talk about, okay, your brainstorm. It's 15 minutes before the ceremony. We're going to walk through this. Where are you, partner A? Where are you, partner B? What are you doing? Who are you with? Who's playing music? Who's greeting people? So that's the pre-ceremony. We put ourselves in the headspace, in the literal kind of imaginative space of what it's going to be like the 15 minutes before the ceremony, who's where and what's happening, so all those bases are covered. Then, of course, we brainstorm the elements together. So, okay, ceremony starts, bum, bum, ba-dum, and we're going to talk about walking them through the actual what happens in the ceremony. And then we're going to talk about how to wrap up this 1-hour workshop really tight, really strong with our couple in a way that makes them go, we are so grateful that we chose you to be our officiant. We 100% know that you've got this, and we're so confident in you. Okay, so that is what we are going to cover this week. Now, I just want to make sure I got some dates here. Good. So I'm big on outcomes. Every unit of this course, I like to talk about the outcomes. I don't want any fluff. I don't want any wasted time here. So the outcome of this step, conduct a thorough workshop. The outcome of this step for the couple is, of course, that they feel, as we mentioned, they feel confident in you. They feel like their ceremony is under control. Okay, I don't want to beat that dead horse. That's the outcome for the couple. Every step has an outcome for the couple. Every stage of this course, outcome for couple, outcome for you. The outcome for you when you accomplish this stage successfully is, of course, you have all the data that you need to build a script. You don't need to keep bothering them and stuff like that. You have everything you need to take that spreadsheet that we're going to work through and then take it home and build out a beautiful script that looks like a movie script. That's what I tell the couple. It's got the times, who's standing where, stage directions, I say this person walks in, etc., etc. Easy to read, great flow, okay? And so that is the outcome for you. And the other outcome that I cannot emphasize enough is you are building your authority, you are building their trust in you, and that goes a huge way when a couple is not looking at you slanty-eyed, wondering, do you know what you're doing? And I've been a groomsman in a wedding, in weddings where that's the case. You got the officiant showing up and bumbling all over the rehearsal, and the couple kind of like giving funny faces to their friends behind the officiant's back. I think that's probably our worst fear. So right off the bat, you've established chemistry when you met them and they asked you to officiate, and then this is the second time you've seen them, really the first time in the process, and they're going to totally trust you and know that you've got this. Okay, so those are the outcomes for you. Those are the outcomes for them. And now I want to tell you what to do when you show up and tell them what they need to know. Okay, first, I'm going to just pause here for a second. I'm going to check in. I see the little dot showed up. What if the couple lives out of town? Can we do a Skype meeting? Yes, Carol. So I think Marnie maybe answered that. If they're out of town, that happens to me on occasion. Like I say, living kind of at an oceanside destination, I try to do. So here's the thing. Sometimes if a couple will say, well, we're visiting my parents 3 months before, then you have to weigh, is it worth meeting them in person and then it's a bit too early, like I said, so they don't know a ton of things? Sometimes, especially if I didn't meet them for the chemistry check, I'll say, you know what, it's early, but I want to meet you in person. I want to work with you in person and establish that rapport. So let's meet, even though your wedding's in September and you're coming for a visit in May to this area, because your parents live around here, this is where you grew up or something, let's do it. So sometimes I will just weigh the positives or drawbacks for both. Or sometimes you just, no, sorry, they're not going to make it. And they say, well, we'll be in town like a week before the wedding. Can we do it then? I've had couples say that. We're only going to be in town a week before the wedding. Can we do our workshop then? Absolutely not. So yes, you say Skype. I got so frustrated with Skype so often because like, are you on Skype? I'm on Skype. A connection. Is there another platform? As Marnie said, I've found Zoom to be the easiest because it's, again, that's why I use Google, and it's free. It's free to have like a one-on-one. I had to pay for this webinar because it's like, you know, there's certain tiers, but just to have a meeting with somebody, it's free. So I recommend it because it's so easy to use for everybody. So hope that answered your question. That's the only question I see so far. So I think we can plow forward. Great. So let's talk about, you sit down, you get your coffee, your couple sitting in front of you, 3 things to tell them to kick it off really strong. The first thing is, you say, all right, here we are. We're having our meeting today. You're not going to know everything, okay? And I want to emphasize that with them. That's not the point today. I will say at this point, some couples reach out to me, even though I've already told them at our chemistry check and the emails leading up to it, you'll see in the templates, they say to me, what homework do we have to do before we show up? Mark, we didn't do our homework. Did we have to do homework for this meeting? And I say, you don't have to do anything for this meeting because the meeting is the homework. This is where we're going to talk about every single detail of your ceremony and hit you with things that you didn't even know existed about the ceremony. So that's why we're having it a month and a half before. So tell them that. And then you got to tell them you're going to feel way less stressed at the end of this meeting. I love doing that. Their shoulders usually, I watch it drop. And again, I'm going to talk to you about how to wrap it up strong. And a little sneak preview here is you're going to ask them at the end, how do you feel? And they're going to go, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Inevitably, okay? And so, you know, some people are stressed and that's not on you, that's them. So I've had some couples say like, better, but still stressed. And that's because that's because the dress, they're worried about the dress and the flowers and all that. But when it comes to the ceremony, I tell them, you're going to feel way less stressed about your ceremony at the end. And I love walking couples through this hour and then checking in with them and seeing that they feel relief in a way that they didn't have before we started. So tell them, you're not going to know everything, but you're going to feel way less stressed. You're going to feel so much better in 1 hour from now. And that's the segue to saying this will only take 1 hour. I don't know about you, but if you're in a business meeting and you never know when it's going to end, or a wedding rehearsal and you never know when it's going to end, people just have a group of people in a room and then they start the thing and they start talking and you're like, when do I get out of here? How long is this going to be? Is my whole day shot now? Is my whole evening gone? Telling people when something is going to end goes a long way for people's attention span, their sense of trusting you with their time, which is again why I told you I'm going to stop talking at 10 minutes to the hour. I have 22 more minutes left, and that's when I'm going to stop, and we'll pick up tomorrow. So do that about this. Tell them it'll only take 1 hour. And you might think, how does such a huge meeting take 1 hour? And I tell them it's only going to take 1 hour, and this always gets a chuckle, because I am not going to hit you with an option and then sit there and watch the two of you hash it out, such as when I say, like, so how do I present you at the end? Is it Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Is it just Tanya and Jim? What is it? And if they don't have an answer for that, a gut, like, okay, they discuss it for 10, 15 seconds, ask me, what do you think? I'm not going to sit there and watch them argue about changing last names or whatever for 5 minutes and say, we're not leaving this meeting until this is settled. That would be a disaster. Then it would be a 3-hour meeting. So I tell them, you're going to know some things. I'm going to walk you through some options and preferences as the expert. And then you're going to either know right here, and I'll put it in the spreadsheet, or you're going to say, ooh, we have to talk about that. Like, do we want our cousin Billy Bob to be our greeter? at the door. Well, let's talk about that a bit more. And then of course we have to ask Billy Bob if he says yes. So then literally I write TBD in the spreadsheet and off we go from there. So tell them it's only going to take an hour. I'm not going to watch you argue about things. If you don't know the option that you want, agree on the option that you want, then we have 4 to 6 weeks and we all get out of here an hour from now. It's very rare. I've had, I think, 1 or 2 workshops in all my years of doing this that have gone over an hour. Okay, so tell them that. And then finally, I say, I demystify what I'm doing. So if you ever had somebody like work on a laptop, right, and they're kind of like, what does it look like back there? What are you doing? So I'm sitting at a table with them, usually in a coffee shop, and I just spin my laptop around and I say, here's what it looks like. Here's what I'm working on. And so show them, just scroll through and say, see, this is like, it's the spreadsheet you'll see. If you've clicked on that link, you should have it by now. I say, see, I'm going to talk about who's in your wedding. We're just going to go through the elements just really quick. That's what I'm doing. I'm not sending you this spreadsheet because sometimes they get a panic look in their eyes. Nobody wants a spreadsheet. Well, some of us are wired that way, but I'm not. I say, I'm going to take this data and turn it into a script. And we talk about, that's part of the wrap it up strong. Okay. So just spin your laptop around if you have that and say, look at the spreadsheet. This is what I'm working on back here. Just filling out your answers, your options. And this is literally everything that can, might, will, and could happen in your ceremony. I will take this moment now to send you another link because some of you have said, what if I don't have a laptop? What if I don't want to bring the laptop right into the meeting? So I always just use the laptop, but I am going to send you a printable spreadsheet. So if you try to print the spreadsheet from Google Sheets, it is a disaster. It's not meant to be printed. So I created this from scratch. If you're kind of more of a pen and paper person, print this out, use it, bring the paper copy in the meeting if that's more your jam. I'm left-handed, my writing is almost illegible, and so and to me it would be duplicating work to write it down and then have to type. A lot of time I just copy and paste from the spreadsheet into the script. But there you go. That's for those of you who are still more comfortable going analog. I try to update it so it matches the ever-evolving Google spreadsheet. It doesn't evolve that often anymore, but there are like tweaks here and there that there are differences. But there you go. Print that out if you're more comfortable with that. Okay, so we're about to turn to the actual spreadsheet. And so I'm just going to take a minute to check back in with questions here. Do you share any ceremony building information or guides before the meeting? Ideas about rituals? Okay, that's a great question, Liz. I typically don't do anything before the ceremony. I want to just hit them with those things fresh in the ceremony because I think that's a good time to ask them things for them to say like, yeah, so in the spreadsheet, we get to that part. Do you want to add any rituals? And they'll say like, well, what do you think? And I say, well, there's so many rituals. Have you seen anything you like? And we discuss it then. And I think that's a good way to prevent them from feeling overwhelmed. I don't want to send them some document and say, look, there's 65 different rituals from lighting things on fire to tying you up to a head cord that's connected to jumping over a broom to, so if I say that in person, they feel a little bit less intimidated. And so I really like to discuss that with them right then and there. And then if they say, oh, we'd love to do a hand fasting, we think that sounds really cool, then I'll send them the hand fasting guide, or I'll put it right in the script. And again, I share the script with them, as you'll learn. They see it, they approve it, they sign off on that. Okay? So again, some of you might have a different opinion on that. I don't like to hit them with any homework or any pre-stuff. I like to discuss things for the first time with them at the wedding workshop, give them their options, and then help them with it afterwards. Okay? Did I say lighting you on fire? I meant lighting things on fire, like a candle or something like that. I have not lit any one on fire yet. Okay, so you don't need to explain everything in the meeting. That's right. You don't want to explain everything. Of course, you want to guide them. You don't want to be like, this is going to end in an hour. That's, move on. But I just find that it doesn't take that long, even if somebody wants to add a unity candle, a sand mixing, and a hand fasting. I mean, that would be a lot. Where I'm from, people typically don't do any rituals at all. Maybe it's because Canada's more secular or whatever. They just want their story, vows, rings, maybe 1 or 2 extra things. But then I say to them, usually, I will put my hand fasting script in the script. So I'm going to send you the script, and just look at the wording. Tell me if you like it. It's for your approval. I usually highlight and say for your approval. So you don't need to say, here it is in person. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. They typically don't care. They just kind of say, you know how to do hand fasting? Great. Some of them have said, I want to do a thing. And I say, I've never heard of that ritual in my life. If you're a veteran like Cantor Mark, who's been doing this for 65 years, you've probably seen it all. But there are some rituals that I'm like, I have never heard of that. I will go research it. And they're totally cool with that. And then I'll say, I'm going to put in the script what I learn, okay? And off they go. Thanks for those awesome questions. Okay, 65 centuries. Okay, so let's turn to the spreadsheet. Before we do, I want to show you the 3 big sections, just how I've chunked it up. This is not for your couple. You don't need to tell them this. I want you to be able to wrap your head around this document we're about to dive into. And I kind of hinted at it before, the 5 steps of this stage. We're going to talk about the non-elemental components. That's the things that don't actually happen in the ceremony. We're going to talk about that. The pre-ceremony components, which is what happens before the ceremony. We want to walk that through. I don't know about you, but if you're hosting a party, the atmosphere when people come in really sets the tone. If there's no music, no forks, you're like, I forgot the basic things. It really kind of sullies the atmosphere. So you want to make sure they think about a pre-ceremony playlist, what music is playing. A lot of time guests, maybe older ones, or depending what part of the world you're in, they walk into the space, they immediately stop, and they have that question about bride side, groom side, which side do I sit on? And maybe the couple knows they're not doing that. They don't care. Sit wherever you like. But if you don't talk to them about it and say, guests need to be told sit wherever you'd like. Maybe that's a chalkboard, which is very in vogue right now, or something etched in glass, some kind of signage, people greeting people. So the pre-ceremony is like hitting your couple with all the details. I consider the officiant's purview to be basically everything that happens half an hour before the ceremony, through the ceremony, and basically once you pronounce them married and send them down the aisle, the music starts. That to me is when the officiant's responsibilities are over. A lot of people ask me, Mark, do you stay for the reception? As a professional, no, because the only people I know are the couple, and so I don't crash their reception. So we're going to talk about the pre-ceremony, and then of course we'll talk about the elements of the ceremony itself. Okay, that is what we're about to do. So without further ado, let us go to the actual document itself. I'm going to start. So you have the link there in the chat. I'm going to start in Google because this is where many of you will start, okay? Now, I told you you need a Google account to get started here, okay? So Google account, that's how you get started. If you don't have one, create a Google account, go here, and in a minute, you can create a Google account, okay? You're going to need that to interact, save, share, all this stuff. So again, if you don't have one yet, I've just introduced you to the 21st century. Welcome. You will not regret it. Google's suite of tools is awesome. I don't get anything for saying this. So we'll go back to Google here. Once you have a Google account, you're going to see this situation in the corner here. You're going to see you should be logged in here, and you can see I have a lot of Google accounts. I have several different ones. I'm a big fan. So make sure you're logged in. It should say log in there. Once you're logged in, you will see maybe just a letter of your first name or a picture of yourself if you decide to go all fancy and update your profile. And then you're going to have this little grid here, and this is all the tools, the Google tools. There are so many, but there are 3 that I really interact with for this course: the sheets, the docs, the forums, and of course I have mail. And then the other stuff I don't even think I've looked at. These probably won't appear readily for you. So the way to get to Google Sheets, if you're logged in and you don't see Sheets here, it's a little green box, but sometimes it's like more from G Suite Marketplace and you get lost. Just type in here, Google Sheets. Okay, like literally Google where you need to get to. And look at that, Google Sheets sign in will pop right up. And this takes me to my hub. And you'll see I have loads of Google Sheets from all the weddings I do. And you can see my kind of nomenclature. I use the couple's name and the date. But what we're interested in here is, I shared you the link to this. This is what you should be seeing. Every wedding I do, I'm sharing the same document as you. Every wedding I do, I go in here. This is at the top because I click it all the time. Click that. And now I have a lot of things accessible here because I own the document. For you, and some of you were keeners yesterday, you got the link and you were like, I can't do anything with this. Yes, let's talk about that. Oh, great. So I see, like, this is great. I think a lot of you are inside. There's 17 of us here. You're going to want to make a copy of this. I have made this so you can't edit this because I think accidents happen and we would just, put the name of our couple and then everybody in the course would be affected. Everyone in the course plus me is sharing this document, so I've protected it from being changed. The way to get your very own copy is to click File up here, make a copy. And now for me, so you have a couple of choices here. You can make your own master copy so that you don't have to find this one again if you want. So you can say Cantor Marks master copy and then copy from that copy when you have couples. Otherwise, you can just name your couple, okay? So Jim and Frank, September 1st, 2020. That's what I do before I have a wedding workshop. Usually before I get to the coffee shop or at the coffee shop if I'm there nice and early. I connect to the Wi-Fi and then I open this document, make a copy, Jim and Frank, September 1st, 2020. I click OK. And now this is yours to edit. And you should see all of these options here that you won't need to touch. Don't worry, I know a spreadsheet can be overwhelming. The only thing you're going to need to touch is the information you're filling out here in the center column. You can add some notes, but really those are, I just have these for if you're wondering, what is this? What is that? So I just have a couple of little extra notes here for guidance. But this is it. Once you have this, you have the name of the couple, September 1st, 2020. That's it. So I'm going to assume that all of you were able to get in this because this is what we're going to work on for the next 8 minutes. Are you ready? And then tomorrow and Friday. We're doing great for time. So I'm just going to walk you through this the way I would walk through the couple. So once you have these two tabs open, see, I still have this one. I just close that out. Like just close it out. There's no need to have that open anymore. Now I'll show you how to find this again. So some people, some students have said to me, I created the thing, then I closed my browser and I have no idea where it went. Again, hopefully you'll just remember now, you can go here. You might have the Sheets thing pop up, but anytime you're lost, just go to Sheets. Google Sheets. Well, if you go to make sure it's Google Sheets. You might get some weird stuff. So Google Sheets, sign in. Either you'll get the prompt to sign into your account or you'll already be signed in and see, look, any spreadsheet you create will now be inside here. It'll take you to your account. And there they are. Okay, I just got a question. Did I get a question? No? It just, okay. I just got a prompt, but it looks like all the questions are answered. Okay, so here we go. We have our spreadsheet. Are you ready to get to work? We're sitting with our couple. They're across from us. We've told them the 3 things. You're going to feel way better. This just takes an hour. Here's what I'm working on. Okay, ready? Should we get to work? Great. Sip the coffee, and I say, first of all, and do not underestimate the importance of this question. When and where is your ceremony? You would not believe, if this is just an assumption and you don't talk about this with your couple at the workshop, you can get the time wrong. And again, I got burned on this, nothing too disastrous, but the couple reached out to me. Okay, so I'm looking for, you'll be there what time? And when we met and they filled out their original inquiry form, they said the wedding was at 3 o'clock. So I'm just going by the assumption that, oh yeah, 3 o'clock is the wedding. But in their mind, they changed it to 4 because they booked me a year ago. So ask them here, when is your wedding? And so, you know, they'll tell me Kingsbury Garden, 4 p.m., September 1st, 2020. Okay. And then so I'll say, great. Now I know I show up at the right time in the right place. When is the rehearsal? You definitely want to ask that. Typically, it's the night before. This is where a couple will ask me a lot of the time, do I have to rehearse in the same space? And I say, no. So Kingsbury Garden, for example, a big kind of touristy area nearby, they're really good about opening up the space for rehearsals the day before or 2 days before or whatever. Some places like restaurants or museums that are really booked or kind of a bit more exclusive, you can't rehearse in the same space. We're going to talk more about rehearsals in stage 5, but just for this point, your couple might ask you, and that's how we're going to walk through this document, is I'm going to tell you, the couple might say this at this point. Here's the option. So here they might say, do we need to rehearse in the same space? No, we can rehearse anywhere. I've done some pretty awful but fun condo hallway rehearsals. You can rehearse anywhere as long as there's enough room to walk around and stand, etc. Okay? Let's get the cast of characters in. So after we get the rehearsal, when and where, so I'm going to copy and paste this in and say it's August 31st at 4 p.m. Great, Kingsbury's letting us do the rehearsal. If they're not sure, which happens a lot, and this is what I do with any time in this spreadsheet we're not sure about something, I just put a question mark. And at the end, we scroll through looking for question marks. So this is where you might want to tell your couple, do you have a pen and paper? Do you want to be writing down while I'm working? I say, don't worry, because I've got this down back here. I'm adding question marks. Anything that's not decided, I'm writing that down. But maybe your brides or grooms are going to want a little checklist going for themselves that you can cross-check at the end to make sure they know their to-do list. So if they don't have any idea about a rehearsal, they weren't sure about the space, the venue, etc., put a question mark, and then in the script, which is next week, you'll see we just write TBD, okay? So we get the wedding, we get the rehearsal, then I say to them, now I just want to get all the people in your ceremony down here, because I don't want to be, you know, in the weeds of planning here, and then who's that? Okay, what's that person's name? So you just get everybody down. So write their photographer. Do you have a photographer? They give you a photographer's name. Do you have a videographer? Yes. Okay, take the videographer's name. If they don't, again, I don't like to leave any blanks, so I put NA or none. A blank cell in this spreadsheet is kind of the kiss of death. If you write the script, if you miss it when you're writing the script and it was just blank, and maybe you got distracted for a second in the discussion, it's bad news to have a blank, because then you're like, did they answer that? Did they not? Did I see a squirrel out in the window and miss their answer? This is what you want to have, every cell filled out with something. And that's what we check for at the end. Question marks and every cell filled. So photographer, videographer, I say, do you have a planner or a coordinator, a venue, somebody? Sometimes it's just, no, it's just Tracy at the venue. Okay, great. But Tracy at the venue, I might run into her. The point of getting the names here is, again, you show up on site at the wedding and you see the person with the holster and the camera. I just find it way better if you walk up and say, hey, you must be Shannon May. And sometimes you're wrong. She'll say, no, I'm Shannon May's assistant. That's Shannon May over there, which is fine. At least you show up on site. We're going to talk about that in stage 6 with that authoritative presence of like, I know who's here. I know who's doing what. The videographer is Blaine. Great. If I see a guy with a movie camera, I know it's Blaine. Okay, the planner is going to be huge, and you don't want to go, who are you? It's really helpful to walk up. You're Tori. Awesome. Good to meet you, Tori. Okay. So get those names down, because fellow vendors are huge in terms of making a great first impression. I see a question just came in. Where are the links to the spreadsheet and other material? They're in the chat. Keith, if you can find the chat box, I will resend these links today. These links are also in the email I sent you this morning. But if you go to chat there, you'll see those links. I'll make sure you get them. Okay, just in the last minute here to get this pre-stuff out of the way, done. Oh, I've just kind of messed something up here. Okay. Next thing you want to do is get the audio person, the band. I always say, who's doing your music? And sometimes it's like, okay, the DJ John is going to do the recessional song because we want it to be like Bruno Mars, but the other songs in the ceremony are going to be a lovely quartet. Great. Ask them who's doing their music, get their names in here. DJ John and Heart and Soul Quartet. Great. Usually it's just one person, but this is where you ask them, is it a DJ? Is it a live band? Is it a friend with an iPod? Great. Put that person's name here, because you are going to have to work with them pretty closely. Then I like to ask, are there any kids in your ceremony? Flower girls, junior bridesmaids, ring bearers. I also usually ask here, do you have any animals? You would not believe how many animals are in weddings I do. So I put kids and animals in the same category, because usually they serve the same function, which is just to be adorable, to kind of come down as part of the parade, and just be cute. So I always say, any kids, what are their roles? So yes, they'll say something like, okay, Joanna, so I'll do that. And I kind of have my own nomenclature, but you're going to want to say flower girl. And then Greg is the ring boy, that kind of thing. So list them all out. Again, we are not discussing how people are walking in, when they're walking in. Some couples go there right away. I ask the names. I'm like, okay, so we think we're going to have Greg walk in first. And you just say, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Right now, I'm just getting names, just names down. All the nitty gritty is going to come in a few minutes, okay? Then partner A's party. And this is where I say partner A can be read as bride. I've just changed. I want my language to be inclusive. Many of you are doing same-sex weddings. So you might want to change this and actually write the name of the person. If you find that a little bit confused, who's partner A again? Who's partner B? Maybe you want to just hit Control F and say partner A is, so see how I hit Control F 10 times, that shows up in this. You can replace it with bride, or in this case, if I'm doing Jim and Frank, we can say Jim is partner A. Okay. And that didn't work, but it should. I don't want to get bogged down in that. So partner A, party, and then I'll just say, who's in your wedding? Who's in your wedding party? And I don't care about order or anything right now. Just give me their names. Okay, Sally, Jill, Fred, Bob. Okay, great. We put them all down. Partner B's party. And then I like to ask pretty discreetly, I don't assume all parents are coming. So don't say like, what's your parents' names? And because sometimes family dynamics are really complicated. So I always say, which parents will be attending? And sometimes it's none. Sometimes they're deceased. Sometimes there's a big family fight. Now might be a time to talk about that, feel it out. You can say, is there a complicated family dynamic that I need to be aware of? And just sometimes it's really simple. Oh, both our sets of parents are going to be there. Boom, boom, and you get that done. Okay? So you get all the names down, and then we're going to get into tomorrow, because it's 1:53 my time, 12:50. It's 53. We're going to get into those logistics and then the pre-ceremony. We should be able to do a really good job getting through this tomorrow. Okay, that is session 1. I'm nearly hoarse, and so I'm going to go into questions here. I don't see any major questions. I don't see any questions. Do you have any questions? I just want to take a few minutes here. If there was something you were wondering about, something I said, something about the document, now is your time. Fire away. and I'll just give it a moment. Will the recording be available if we cannot attend tomorrow? I am recording every single session. Okay, so you see it's recording. I don't know if you can see that. You should. I think you're supposed to be able to see that, even though I'm the only one on camera. So every session will be recorded and sent to you. So I'm going to do that over the next few hours. Click stop, process this, send it out to everybody so it's yours to keep and rewatch forever. Okay. Do you have your own mics? That's a good question. I get that a lot. We're going to talk more about mics tomorrow. I don't have my own mics. I don't like to deal with, I think everybody's a bit different. Like some people, some officiants, they're amazing. They're Instagramming before the ceremony. Like, here I am, look at this, look at that. I get too scrambled. I need to be like in the zone. I know I seem extroverted, but I need to like prepare what I'm going to say before I get up there because I don't like to read my opening remarks. I'm just too nervous to fiddle with my own mics and all that kind of stuff. So I don't like to have my own equipment. A lot of officiants do. They show up on site with their own lapel mic, which is great. So I want to talk more about mic details tomorrow. I don't use my own mic, but I know a lot of officiants do. So if you want to do that, if you think that would be a great idea for you, then absolutely do it. Okay, Tracy, I hope you do a marketing course. Me too. Thank you. Do you have your own mics? When do you ask for payment? Oh, good question, Glenn. So to lock me, so I always have that chemistry check. So Keith says, is there a chemistry meeting separate from the workshop? Yes. Maybe, I don't know if you joined a tad late, but I assume, like this course assumes you have your couple. So that would be kind of a separate course or topic, but to just answer your question, there is a chemistry meeting that I have with the couple. I just sit down and I walk them through my process. Here's how I work. Here's how many times I'm going to need to meet you. So I explain to them, we're going to do a wedding ceremony planning session. I call it the workshop. So that's when, so Keith, that's the answer to your question. Glenn, to lock me in, they need to pay 50% deposit. It's a non-refundable deposit. And so that's coming in handy right now to have a contract. With this COVID-19 thing, couples are not reaching out to me saying, can we get our money back? Can we cancel? They know the agreement they entered into. And so I'm being as flexible as I can, rescheduling weddings, postponing weddings. A lot of couples who need to move their April, May, June. I mean, I had quite a schedule. They've all been pushed to the fall or next year. And most couples are having to do that. Understand it's now a Friday night wedding. It's now a Sunday afternoon wedding because, you know, professionals are booked Saturday, Saturday, Saturday. So they pay 50% upfront. And then I ask for the remaining balance 2 weeks before the wedding. I ask for the remaining balance when I send the friends and family survey. We're going to talk about this in stage 3, week 3. When I send the friends and family survey, hey, tell me about the couple, some cool things. It's just my process so that I can keep everything straight. I send out the friends and family survey, and then I send a couple, like in the same 10-minute window, hey, great, can you pay the balance? Your ceremony's almost here. I never show up on site at a wedding without having been fully paid. Okay, the last question I see here, how to deal with a bride who refuses to walk down the aisle on time, even though she's there ready to go and wants to be fashionably late. I'm totally cool with that. I mean, in my contract, I actually have a clause that says basically you are saying you're going to start on time. Very few weddings do. So I say, really, try not to be more than 20 minutes late. I think quarter after, 20 after the start time is okay. It's okay with me. Anything more than that, and then I'm worried about the guests. The guests are sitting there like, it's like turning into a hostile audience basically. And that's what I tell the couple. I was like, you don't want to wait too long because they're sitting there. And if it's hot or cold, and even if it's the best of temperatures, you don't want a hostile crowd. You don't want them thinking like, I was only planning on sitting here for half an hour and it's 20 minutes in and I haven't even started yet. So we're going to actually be sitting here so Brides want to be fashionably late. I get that. Most weddings I do start 10 minutes late. I always ask the groom, say, and if there's a planner, but typically the family knows. Before I start the ceremony, I say, hey, groom, because typically the bride is hiding somewhere. I say, groom, can you look? Are there any conspicuous aunts or uncles that are not here? And if they say, yes, we can't start without Aunt Mabel. Okay, we'll wait 5 more minutes for Aunt Mabel. But a lot of time they'll say, no, it looks good. Let's get started. So 15, 20 minutes is acceptably late for me. Anything longer than that, the crowd is turning against you. So tell them, that's how I would phrase it for them. It's like, you can be fashionably late, but every minute later makes it a not great crowd. And you want everyone to be excited and smiling and just filled with love and tolerance for the ceremony. Awesome questions. Are you going to share what questions you ask in the welcome email that you send to the couple? Yes. So am I going to share the questions you ask? I'm going to share with you every single thing you need, Ernest. So I sent you in the chat, and I'm going to send you all these links in an email with the recording. All the emails you'll need, all the questions you're going to need, the survey. I think you're talking about the survey that I send to friends and family. That is part of week 3. Okay, so I'm walking you through every single thing that you need every step of the way. No worries about that at all. Okay, all right, that's it for questions. It is the top of the hour. I'm looking, paying for the course, hands down. Oh, thank you, Mark. Great. Wonderful. I really look forward to the community that develops out of this. Like I say, if I could just wrap up, Claudia is in the Facebook group. Mark is in the Facebook group. I'm just really touched that all of you jumped on board. I know we are all in massively different places with this virus situation. Some of us are like, more Netflix time, and others are hurting. Maybe some of you have friends and family who are affected by this. So we all come at this at different places, different times, different states of mind. I just really look forward to sharing this hour with all of you 2 or 3 days a week, okay? Email me any questions remaining, and I will just wrap up now by saying, see you tomorrow at this same time. Thanks for those of you on the other side of the globe that could hang in there. And I'm going to send you an email in the next few hours with the recording. Let's see, I wrote it down here. With the recording, the links that I sent you in the chat, all the links you need, and most importantly, a new link to tomorrow's webinar. Don't click this link because you'll just get a dead empty room. There'll be a new fresh link for tomorrow's webinar, okay? Love you guys. Thanks so much. Excited for tomorrow. Signing off. I don't even really, how do I do that? Okay. End meeting. I'm going to end it. I'll see you tomorrow.